So the remaster's past kind of reminds me of those middle child stories or the tragic family stories, the really messed up, gritty stuff, like super messed up. Well, just like the main character, she was born into a royal family, but unlike the main character, she had many, many siblings, and she was the middle child. And unlike the main character, she wasn't blessed or cared by her family. They did not care about her. Like, they badly wanted to throw her away because of who her mother was, because her mother was just a servant in the castle, no one important. Like, her father did not care for her like, the main character's father did. Like, the main character even says himself that their stories are completely different. Like, how they were treated was completely different. And how, like, in her country, they have a tradition where somebody in the royal family, everyone's generation, has to go and serve in the temple, work in the temple, become a coverter in the temple, and the work is harsh and tedious. And she was chosen. Usually, a substitute or a competition's made for a royal child. Like, the children compete to see who goes in the temple, like who loses basically, or they find a substitute to go. Well, because of who she was, they just threw her in the temple. Threw her in the temple and left her to do all the hard, tedious work. And then when number one shipper's country went to, destroy her country, fight her country in a war, they wanted the emperor to kill himself. They wanted her father to kill himself or let his people die. Basically, they kidnapped some prisoners and disguised them as normal people and basically told the emperor he had two options: come out, kill himself, and kowtow for his crimes, or let them die. And if these people die, they will tell the people, hey, these people were actually prisoners and were supposed to be executed, but look, your emperor was willing to throw somebody else under the bus for his own life. He doesn't actually care for you. Because they knew the emperor wouldn't do that. Well, the royal children, her siblings, were all trying to get their father to go do it because, they didn't want to suffer. They didn't want to go in his own place, or they didn't want to suffer themselves by being killed. And he refused. Like, they even physically assaulted him to get him to go do the execution, and he refused. She stood up. The unloved child stood up and was like, Father, I'll take your place, and went and killed herself, which number one shipper kept his promise, did not lay hands on her country, and it's horrible. Like, oh my god, it was messed up. And she ascended right after she died, or like when they took her body to the temple, to, the grave area the royal family is, or at the temple, she ascended at that moment. And the little bull that she uses to fly on, and her only, disciple, was a carving on the doors. And every time she passed it while she worked in the temple, she put her, abilities, her powers into it. Like, she'd be like, hey, I'm here, rub it to give it let her pass, and you bless it. And it became her number one disciple. But oh my god, is this story sad?